Engines roar, brakes scream. In an instant, silence, then chaos. Twisted metal, flashing lights, hearts racing. This isn't a movie, it's real. Every frame tells a story. Get ready. A car moves to overtake and tries to return to its lane too fast. It skids, spins out of control, and crashes into an oncoming vehicle. The driver loses control on a narrow street. The car veers off course and slams into a parked vehicle with a loud crunch. A small car cuts sharply in front of a truck, forcing the driver to swerve left. The truck crashes into another beside it, while the reckless car speeds away from the scene. As the race begins, the car swerves unpredictably across the track. Moments later, white smoke pours from its engine before it crashes violently into the barrier. The Ferris wheel turns slowly against the sky, lights twinkling in the evening. Then flames appear on one of the cabins, and horrified onlookers capture the unfolding disaster on their phones. A car crashed into a pole and was badly dented, but the driver calmly got out and started jumping on the damage, trying to fix it himself. At the intersection, a driver ran a red light and slammed into a turning car at full speed, then fled the scene right after the crash.
Meu Deus!
On a rural road, a buffalo charges after a fleeing man. Cornered, it rears up on two legs and slams against a nearby car in a burst of raw force. At a busy intersection, a car rushes through and crashes into a passing van. The impact is so strong that the van flips over, landing on its side. A police car speeds through with its lights flashing. Suddenly, it skids on the slick road and crashes hard into the roadside fence. At a busy intersection, two trucks crash into each other. One flips onto its side, spilling sand from its open bed across the road. At a busy intersection, two cars approach from different directions at high speed. In a split second, one slams into the side of the other, the crash echoing through the crossing. A car speeds through a puddle, drenching a passing cyclist in muddy water. But karma strikes quickly. Moments later, the driver loses control and skids off the road. A driver places a bottle inside the steering wheel, laughing as he films himself hands-free. But the moment of fun turns to panic when the truck drifts off the road and crashes violently. A car makes an illegal turn, forcing the truck behind it to swerve sharply. The truck crashes into waiting cars at the light before flipping over. A single reckless move turning into a full-scale tragedy. A Formula One driver speeds into the corner, pushing the limits of control. Suddenly, the car spins out, crashes, and bursts into flames as marshals race toward the scene. On the roadside, a car burns fiercely, flames consuming its frame. The heat distorts the air as smoke rises into the cold sky, a haunting sight of destruction. At a crowded intersection, a van and a small car cross paths at the wrong moment. The impact is sudden, sending both vehicles spinning across the road. A car backs out of a parking spot but drifts off course. It scrapes along the sidewalk fence, bending metal with each jolt. A car speeds through a red light, ignoring the danger. From the right, a massive truck barrels into the intersection, slamming into the car before toppling over it. The truck lost control and slammed into a car, a brutal reminder of how quickly accidents can happen. In winter conditions, a car lost control and slammed into another at full speed. A truly terrifying crash on icy roads. While trying to park, the driver clips the car behind, then bumps the one in front. After a few tense seconds, the vehicle finally settles awkwardly into the spot. A delivery van swerves into the opposite lane without warning. In a split second, it collides head-on with a small car, sending both vehicles spinning. A heavy truck loses traction on the icy road, its trailer swaying uncontrollably. Within seconds, it crosses the center line and smashes into another truck coming from the opposite side. A car moves to overtake, unaware of another vehicle right behind it. After a brief cutoff, the driver panics, jerks the wheel, and the car spins out, crashing into a roadside fence. A woman steps off the curb, unaware of the speeding car approaching. The driver swerves just in time, only to crash into the parked vehicle behind. A moment of inattention is all it takes. One car slams into another, the quiet street erupting with the sound of metal on metal. Inside a repair shop, a luxury car is lifted for maintenance. But when the supports fail, the vehicle plunges to the ground, suffering heavy damage in seconds. A stolen car lost control and slammed into the fence, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The driver drifts off behind the wheel, the car slowly crossing the center line. When he wakes, it's too late. A truck is coming straight toward him, and the crash is inevitable. The driver loses control in a sudden turn. The vehicle veers off course and crashes straight into a pole with a violent jolt. A sudden stop on a busy road triggers a chain reaction. 3 cars are damaged in the crash, while the driver who caused it speeds away without looking back. The car skids on the icy road, the driver fighting to regain control. But as it spins around, the rear end slams straight into a passing truck, the struggle ending in a violent crash. At a smelting plant, a driver carefully dumps waste into the molten pool. Suddenly, the lava bubbles and bursts, splashing fiery liquid onto the vehicle. A car suddenly stops in the middle of the road. With split-second reflexes, the driver behind swerves just in time, narrowly avoiding a serious crash. A tractor climbs a small slope, struggling for balance. Suddenly, it tips too far and rolls backward, crashing hard to the ground. 2 cars end up in a bizarre accident, one perched on top of the other's hood. When the lower car reverses, the one above crashes down with a loud thud. A truck stalls in the middle of the railway tracks. Moments later, a speeding train smashes into it, tearing through metal with unstoppable force. An SUV suddenly changes lanes without signaling. The driver behind swerves to avoid it and ends up crashing straight into a roadside pole.
Yes.
Losing control, the small car veers onto the shoulder. In seconds, it crashes into a passing truck, the impact echoing across the road. Losing control on the slippery road, the car slides into the opposite lane. A moment later, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle with brutal force. A massive truck barrels down the road, unable to slow in time. It plows into a small car ahead, the difference in size making the collision devastating. Ignoring the red light, the driver speeds ahead, certain he'll make it through. A split second later, another car slams into his side. A brutal reminder that haste on the road can cost dearly. At the intersection, one car begins a careful turn, but another, speeding straight through, crashes into it, the quiet street erupting in the sound of impact. The car misjudges the distance and lightly bumps into a motorcycle slowing ahead. Fortunately, the rider keeps his balance and no one is hurt. A reckless driver cuts sharply in front of another car. The startled driver swerves, losing control, and slams violently into the roadside fence. A luxury car revs its engine to show off its power. But the sudden acceleration backfires. The tires lose grip, and the car skids straight into a parked vehicle. An SUV speeds along the shoulder, kicking up dust as it goes. Suddenly, a fence appears ahead. The vehicle slams into it and bounces into the air from the impact. A small car drives too close to a heavy truck on a busy road. In an instant, it's dragged beneath the massive wheels, leaving no time to react. The truck driver lost control and crashed into a car, a stark reminder to stay cautious on the road. A truck tows a car on a rope, moving steadily down the uneven road. When it hits a bump, the towed vehicle swings wildly to the side, smashing into several parked cars, leaving a trail of damage behind. A drunk driver swerves wildly along the roadside. Again and again, he crashes into the barriers, turning the road into a scene of chaos. A heavy truck stalls in the middle of the railway crossing. Moments later, a speeding train slams into it, tearing through the metal in a violent collision. The camera pans across a quiet horizon. In the distance, a massive fireball erupts, rising into the sky like a fiery mushroom cloud. Two cars enter the intersection at the same time. Neither driver yields, and their sudden collision sends debris flying across the road. The bridge stands firm above the flowing river, a picture of stability. Then, with a sudden rumble, its structure gives way and collapses into the water below. At a busy intersection, a bus approaches too fast to stop in time. It slams into a small car ahead, a moment of miscalculation with devastating results. The rocket ignites and begins its ascent, hope rising with it. But within seconds, a deafening explosion shatters the launch site, marking a catastrophic failure. Driving along a frozen roadside, the truck's wheel slips onto the snowy edge. As it spins helplessly, the massive vehicle begins to slide until it finally tips off the road into the drift below. A quiet morning commute turns into chaos as a city bus collides head-on with a heavy truck. What began as an ordinary drive suddenly becomes a fight for survival. A car ignores the lowered barrier and drives onto the tracks. Just seconds later, a train rushes through, slamming into the vehicle with devastating force. The car slips on the slick road and drifts across the center line. In the next instant, it collides head-on with an oncoming vehicle. A car tries to merge into the right lane, misjudging the distance. It clips the vehicle ahead, flips over, and comes to rest upside down in the middle of the road. The driver hits a stray tire lying on the road. In a split second, the car flips over with a deafening crash. An SUV tries to cut off a truck, but the truck refuses to yield. Forced to react, the SUV swerves onto the shoulder, narrowly avoiding a crash. Two planes approach each other in the open sky, their paths fatally aligned. In a split second, they collide head-on. One spirals out of control and crashes in a fiery descent. The helicopter descends carefully toward the landing zone, but a sudden tilt turns precision into disaster as it crashes violently upon touching down. A plane descends low over the highway, struggling to stay aloft. Moments later, it crashes onto the road and erupts into a fiery explosion. The car driver tried to overtake a bus but misjudged the distance, crashing into a passing vehicle and causing a shocking, horrific accident.
From Victor Martins, is he going to take the lead from Alex Dunn? Oh!
During the race, a single mistake sets off a chain reaction. Cars spin out, collide, and pile up in a massive crash across the track. The car slides helplessly across the icy surface, tires spinning without control. Moments later, it drifts off the road and comes to rest in the snowy ditch. A bus crossing the railway tracks collided with a train, a terrifying moment that shows how a second's mistake can lead to disaster. A heavy truck drifts too close to the shoulder. It slams into a parked car, crushing the smaller vehicle beneath its weight. A speeding car loses control and veers off course. It crashes into a row of parked vehicles, sending pieces of metal and glass flying. A passing car's dashcam captures an ordinary stretch of road. Then, out of nowhere, a fiery red explosion rises like a mushroom cloud, filling the sky with shock and awe. The car driver fell asleep at the wheel and crashed into a truck, a tragic outcome of a moment's drowsiness. Losing control on the ice, the truck slides off the road and barrels toward the sidewalk. In seconds, it crashes straight into a city storefront, shattering glass and scattering debris everywhere. A motorcyclist speeds too close to the river's edge. At the last moment, his friend jumps off, but the bike and its rider plunge straight into the water. The rider tries to load his motorcycle into the back of a pickup using a simple ramp. But as the front wheel reaches the truck bed, balance is lost, and both man and machine crash to the ground. The driver of an SUV nods off in traffic, his hands still on the wheel. Moments later, the vehicle plows into a stationary car caught in the jam ahead. At a busy intersection, two vehicles cross paths. In an instant, a loud crash breaks the flow of traffic. A car slows down to make a turn, its signal blinking calmly. But the driver behind reacts a second too late, and the sound of metal meeting metal shatters the routine silence. A car crashes into the vehicle ahead, the impact jolting it off course. Moments later, it slams into a roadside pole, coming to a sudden stop. Sparks flicker quietly along the ceiling wires. Moments later, the electrical system bursts into flames, spreading fire across the ceiling panels. A large truck speeds down the opposite lane with its rear door swinging open. As it passes a small car, the door catches it, dragging the helpless vehicle along in a terrifying instant. As the truck rumbles down the road, a large icicle breaks free from its roof. In an instant, it crashes onto a passing car, a chilling reminder of hidden winter dangers. A speeding car rushes into an intersection, unable to stop in time. It bursts through the road's edge and skids out onto an open field. In a quiet neighborhood, a manhole suddenly explodes beside parked cars. Thick white smoke pours out, engulfing the street in moments. The driver loses control as the car skids across the slick road. It spins into the opposite lane, colliding head-on with an approaching vehicle. The car glides over a patch of ice, its tires losing all grip. A moment later, it spins across the center line and collides head-on with an oncoming vehicle. Crazy crashes, epic saves, don't blink. Like and subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments.